Good morning. We will call the November 5th, 2024 City Council meeting to order. I'll ask Councilman Larry Lawrence to lead us in our invocation and pledge. If you would, please stand.
Our Father, we come to you today with grateful hearts. We thank you so much for your love for us and how you have blessed us. We thank you for this wonderful city that you have given us to live in. We thank you for our state, which I believe is the best in the nation. And God, we just thank you for our nation. With all the issues and problems we have, it is still by far the most free and the most generous nation of all time. And now as we begin this meeting to do the city business, we ask you to give us insight, knowledge, and wisdom to make the correct decisions for the city, for the citizens of Jackson. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next item is roll call. Marquisha, you see that all council members are present with the exception of Councilman Dodd. Then we have approval of the minutes of the October 1st, 2024 council meeting. Those meetings were sent out to you all. If there are no additions or corrections, they stand approved as read. We don't have any formal proclamations or recognition, but I want to take a moment to recognize that we have several members of the current Leadership Jackson class. If y'all would please stand, recognize you all. They're doing some of their homework today. I'm glad to have you here. Then I also see sitting on our third row here, we have some young scouts here, so glad to have you here as well, guys. Next we have invitation for public comments, and we have one, Arthur Pretty, wants to speak. Rules are 3 minutes, so I invite him up to come speak. Get my timer right.
My name is Arthur Pretty.
You can have a seat, Mr. Pretty. If you want to.
I'm sorry. My name is Arthur Pretty. My office address is 408 Oil Well Road. I currently serve as the president of the Jackson Roadrunners, and I'm here today in that capacity. I would like to comment specifically on the first reading, agenda item 6, proposed budget amendment, transfer funds from bike and pedestrian infrastructure to animal care capital outlay for cameras at the new animal care center site in the amount of $43,000. We are opposed to the transfer of those funds. While the animal care center is a great cause and much needed, I believe those funds originally earmarked and committed to the pedestrian bike lane initiative should remain in that account and be used for that purpose. The pedestrian bike lane initiative is not only about promoting a healthy lifestyle, but about safety as well. We currently have streets without sidewalks around some of our schools. We have families walking their children to those schools, creating dangerous situations. At one point, the city of Jackson was on board to provide a 3-foot lane on each side of the wide streets when they were being repaved, with Russell and Wallace being good examples of this. I would respectfully ask that the city council not transfer the funds away from the pedestrian bike lane initiative, as well as make that a priority again.
Thank you, Mr. Pretty. All right, move on to first reading. And get to a proposed budget amendment, Carnegie Center to reclass budget from salaries to repairs and maintenance, the amount of $14,000. That is unexpended salaries for repair and maintenance for some HVAC and some office work over at the Carnegie Legends Museum.
So
Motion.
moved.
Second.
A motion second. Any further discussion from council? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 8-0.
Item 2 is proposed budget amendment, JPD insurance recovery in the amount of $20,575.80.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 8-0.
Item 3 is proposed budget amendment, JPD insurance recovery in the amount of $51,695.50.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 8-0.
Item 4 is proposed budget amendment, JPD, to transfer insurance recovery from general fund to capital outlay fund, the amount of $80,076.05.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 8-0.
Councilman Lawrence, can you help Councilman Holt about her technology here?
Amanda was talking and nobody was there, so. What about yourself?
Item 5 is proposed budget amendment, Parks and Recreation, to recognize a $25,000 donation.
So moved.
We
Second.
have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 8-0.
Item 6, proposed budget amendment, transfer funds from bike and pedestrian infrastructure to animal care capital outlay for cameras at the new animal care center site.
Motion.
Have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion from council?
I'd like to ask a question,
Uh-huh.
just to recognize the person that spoke earlier. So later when these, I know that we have to get the animal care, we've got to get that going and up. Will the bike and pedestrian walk be looked at later to make sure those funds are adequately put back in?
Yes,
For
yes, ma'am. We
transfer.
did this to secure. So far, it's cost us $50,000 in repairs and maintenance on vandalism.
Yes.
So, yeah, we'll do that once we get our dollars in.
So
Thank
that
you.
will be secure in Arthur's? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 7-1.
All right, item 7 is consideration of an ordinance to amend Title 11 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Jackson, Tennessee, to add Chapter 9, Anti-Camping Ordinance. Yes. She saw the item coming.
She saw you come in. That never happened before.
Pop quiz, Louis.
Nothing new. And Teresa drafted this based on what other cities have done to allow us to control the public spaces, and that's what this does. Any questions?
Yeah, why is this ordinance necessary? Has something happened to bring this to fruition?
I think it's part of being proactive, and also there has been some instances of people blocking sidewalks and camping out, and we've had to, if you go by the Civic Center now, those large bushes that were there are no longer there because it was a area where people were camping and trashing and leaving trash all over the Civic Center property.
So if a person gets a sleeping bag and that person sleeps on, just say, a vacant lot that the city has acquired, just a vacant lot, that person would be in violation of this ordinance. Is that correct?
Yes,
And the penalty would be maximum of $50 per day.
correct.
If the person has nowhere to go, but where does the person go?
Well, we hope y'all solve that in some other actions you're taking. But right now, it's, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Okay, so.
I don't have the answer to that.
Well, we have Bloomington Inn. We have Tennessee Homeless Solutions that's already working in our community. So it's not like they don't have a place to go. We have avenues that they can house them.
I think that's probably correct, but do I know where he's gonna go? No. I know there are other alternatives. I don't know all the other alternatives.
Okay. I host a radio show every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock, commercial, WFKX Radio, by the way. And
And what's that on the dial?
yeah, 98.7, 96.7. And when I come down Lafayette at about 8:45 each Sunday morning, there are people who are sleeping in the entrance of the library, public library on Lafayette. So those persons will be in violation of this ordinance.
Yes.
All right.
Any additional questions from council? Is there a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion from council? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 7-1.
Item 8 is consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at the southwest corner of Garland Drive and Highway 45 bypass frontage road from OC Office Center District to SC1 Planned Unit Commercial Development District comprising of 7.6 acres, more or less.
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
Good morning.
You have the materials pertinent to this rezoning request, and it was presented to the Planning Commission at their last meeting, and they are recommending it to you. This zoning just reflects the change in land use that has occurred out in that area from going more toward commercial and less toward office.
All right, any questions from council? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 8-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now on the second reading, item 1 is consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at 2046 North Parkway from AO Agriculture Open Land District to University District comprising of 106.4 acres, more or less.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 8-0.
Item 2 is consideration of an ordinance to close an alley south from Eden Street between Middleton Street and LeConte Street.
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 8-0.
I move on to new business. Item 1 is consideration of acceptance of Bobby Arnold's resignation as city recorder.
Motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? Council.
Mr. Chairman,
Mhm.
I just want to say thanks to Mr. Arnold. He's done a great job and had a tough job with all of us, and appreciate his service.
Absolutely. He's done a fantastic job as city recorder the last 5 years, and appreciate all he's done to move us in the right direction. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 7-1.
Item 2 is consideration of appointment of Nathan Reed as city recorder.
Motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion?
Yes, I have some discussion.
Okay.
Is Mr. Reed here?
Yes.
I never met him. Where is he?
Come on.
You can keep your seat. I just wanted to see who you are. I never met you, okay?
You have to come up in a minute anyway.
All right. My question is the process in which this was done. I noted that I think Mr. Reed, you are from Dyer. Okay. Well, I want to know, was any consideration given to in-house persons? Or first of all, did anybody in-house apply for it? I guess the Human Services lady can answer that for
Her name's Kelsey Merriweather.
Ms. Merriweather, of course.
Morning, council.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, Mr. Daniel, we had consideration of internal and external candidates.
Okay, how many candidates were there?
Total candidates interviewed were 2. Total applied, I think, around 8.
Okay. The internal candidates, when I say internal, I'm talking about those who are already with the city
With
of
the
Jackson.
city, yes, sir.
How many do we have in that point?
1.
Okay. And the process by which Mr. Reed was selected, describe that process to me.
Yes, sir.
He was hired as an assistant city recorder. He wasn't hired as city recorder. The way the charter reads is the mayor makes the recommendation for city recorder. The council either approves or doesn't approve of that, and then if you don't approve of that, then the mayor has to make another recommendation for city recorder.
Okay, so the appointment then is your recommendation?
Yes.
Okay. And, well, I guess I'd ask you then, you made the appointment of Mr. Reed based upon the applicants that had been submitted, and you felt that Mr. Reed was the best candidate. Is that right?
So I made the appointment based on the conversation Mr. Arnold and I had on hiring an assistant city recorder with the intent of that assistant city recorder to be appointed as city recorder. And then they went through the process, and Mr. Reed was hired as assistant city recorder.
Okay. And insofar as the internal person who applied for this, you were aware that that person had applied?
Yes, sir. I did not include myself in the process of hiring the assistant city recorder.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question. Mr. Reed, can you come up to the table? If you can just tell me, I know we have your resume and your extensive history. Can you just tell me a little bit about, your education and like your prior history?
I studied political science and international studies in college. I was an elected official, and I think my resume reflects that. Worked with budgeting and finance as an elected official. I had a job similar to y'all's, but it was obviously on a smaller scale. And then I was appointed finance officer for the city of Dyer about 11 and a half years ago. I completed my certified municipal finance officer training and have kept up with my continuing education hours, which, by the way, start tomorrow for me. I'll be spending 2 days in front of a Zoom screen because that's how they do it right now. And along the way, I was an elected county commissioner for Gibson County and worked with their budgeting process and their control process. I think it's my outlook on the way that a finance officer, a finance department works is we have 3 sets of customers. The primary set of customers are the residents of the city of Jackson. The second set of customers probably are you guys as elected officials and the management team and the governing body. And then because of the way that a finance office works in a city like Jackson, our third set of customers are the other employees in the other departments here. And I mean, we all have constituents and we all have customers, but that's the way that I see this role.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Yes,
Discussion?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, yes. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And excited about your possibility of helping us here.
Great.
I was listening to all that. I just wondered, what did your degree end up in?
I studied political science, and I'm currently working on a bachelor's also in accounting.
Okay.
So.
All right, any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 6-1, 1 no, and 1 abstain.
Thank you. Item 3 is consideration.
Would you mind clarifying that? Who voted how?
Can we vote again, she said?
Yes,
No, we
please.
can't vote. The vote's been called.
Can the vote be changed?
No. The vote's been called. Item 3 is consideration of a street acceptance request for Old Humboldt Road subdivision.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion moved 8-0.
Item 4 is consideration of a contract with Neil Schaefer Incorporated for Safe Streets and Roads for All Safety Action Plan.
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 8-0.
Item 5 is consideration of a contract with All Smiles Cleaning Services LLC for janitorial services at the Civic Center.
Motion?
Have a motion? You say second? Have a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 8-0.
Item 6, consideration of a lease agreement extension of the train depot with the CO.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'd like a little explanation of exactly what the relationship is with the coal. Excuse me.
Here they come. Y'all come up here and introduce yourselves, and then
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
Good
I'm
morning.
Jeanette Atwater. I'm Program Director of the Soul Collective.
I'm Lisa Garner. I'm CEO of the CO, and the Soul Collective is a program that the CO runs and operates out of the train depot. So yeah, you had a question about,
Well, the first question is, what does the city provide?
yeah, so the city is providing space, the train depot space. That's the primary thing. At this point, the utilities have been covered by the city, and what we're proposing in this extension is that we would pay for utilities
Okay, when will you start paying for the utilities?
as soon as we move forward with this new lease agreement.
And it's, I'm sure it's a great program. I'm just not aware of
Yeah,
it.
I think you guys have an impact report in front of you.
Yeah. So could you give me the highlight of the impact?
Yeah, I'm gonna have Trinetta talk about it. She's the program director, and knows all the info.
Sure. The highlight of the impact report is we've developed programs for Black entrepreneurs that is housed into the space. We currently have 4 small businesses housed into the space. We've created new jobs. We are now have sought out funding to start new programs. Our newest program is the Cultural Canvas, which provides art programs so that people can come in and learn how to paint and to sew. And in the spring, we'll be starting with tutoring, so we'll be adding to, I lost my train of thought, sorry.
Adding to.
We'll be adding to that program, which we're providing education, tutoring education for students. So yes.
Okay, I forgot what I was gonna ask, so don't feel bad. Okay, back onto that, on the incubation program, you have how many people, how many businesses there now?
We have 4.
You have 4?
Yes.
Is there a time period that they can stay or not stay, or is it just, how long have those 4 been there?
So when we first started, we didn't really have a time period on how long they can stay. What we've learned is that incubation takes years with small businesses. Some of these businesses were already started before we moved in. Some of them are new. And so in this next extension of the lease, we will be there for 5 years, if that's granted.
Okay. I'm not opposed to this at all. The only thing I'd like to see is a shorter time frame on the lease, because there are some other questions that I have. Here again, it's just more for information than anything else. I'd like to make an amendment to this lease that we do it for 1 year, as we've been doing it for the last several years.
Why can't we ask the questions now?
Because I don't have them all written down.
We did a motion.
Yes, it was a motion. It may not get a second.
Yeah, is that it's a motion to amend the lease to a 1-year term, instead of 5-year terms. That's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And we have a second. Let's have a second. We have a motion and a second to amend the motion.
Oh, I thought it was to vote. I'm sorry. I rescind that second.
Okay, so the motion right now is on to make amendment to the original motion from a 5-year lease to a 1-year term. That's the motion on the table right now, is make an amendment. Is there a second? Is there a second? All right, motion dies for lack of a second, so we come back to discussion on the original motion.
So how many nonprofits do we give to as a council?
I wasn't ready for a pop quiz today.
This is some of the questions I have. I'm not opposed to this, but we need to be very careful how we.
These aren't nonprofits, so these are for-profit
No, but the
businesses.
nonprofit is who we give the money to, who we've signed a lease with, and all. So with nonprofits, especially when that nonprofit is going to be transferring that money to a public for-profit, which is fine. I'm not opposed to it, but that's what happens. The benefit of the lease goes to a profit company. But anyway, and I'm not here to debate that, but that's one of the reasons. How many do we have? I have not got that answer yet. How were they selected?
You just asked it.
I know I've asked it in meeting many times. And how are they selected? So I hate to tie us up 5 years before we look at the overall project and see, okay, are all nonprofits being considered? How are we selecting the nonprofits that we do fund? And here again, not to stop any operation, but to give us, just put, not a 5-year picture, but a 1.
Who maintains the actual building? Like, I know the city does, but who's over it? Like specifically?
I project manage for this, the manager
Are
relationships.
there other people applying to lease it?
No, ma'am. And I will say there are provisions in the lease, as there should be for anything, as you know, as a realtor too, that we could break it if we needed to. The code is very aware of that.
Is there like a 30-day notice that if something's gonna change with the lease or you need to break the lease, that's all in there?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I thought.
Also, I believe it was vacant for a period of time before we moved in, and other nonprofits were considered to occupy it. I know at least of a couple that were kind of asked, like, do you have programming you would want to use? And so.
This was just highest and best use selection.
But the overall process is governed by the code, correct?
Yes.
And you've done a great job with the code, so.
Thank you.
That's good.
All right, any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 7 to 1 abstain.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7 is consideration of the bond counsel for pending debt issue.
Motion.
We have a motion?
Second.
Second. Further discussion?
How many people were considered for this?
Nathan?
As you know, the city had a debt issue in 2019. There are a couple of firms in Tennessee that handle issues like this, including Bass, Berry & Sims, Glenkler Brown, Baker Donaldson, Butler Snow, a couple of those. Bass, Berry & Sims, based on the financial advisor's recommendation and their current workload and what they think is going to be the most expedited way to do this, I believe that Bass, Berry & Sims was their recommendation.
Who's recommended?
The financial advisor, PFM.
Okay, so the financial advisor we hired for $25,000 last time, is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what they've done is said this firm is what you should use.
Yes, sir.
What were the reasons for this firm versus others?
The PFM or the actual legal counsel?
Someone from PFM here?
Yes, sir. There's somebody from,
Yes.
I'm just trying to,
What I'm
are
sorry,
you talking about?
talking about how
Yeah,
they
PFM.
Greg recommended this particular firm.
somebody you can address. Can you address that? Okay.
Yes, we recommend Bass, Berry & Snow. They have a large coverage across the state of Tennessee. They're a well-established firm. They would be able to advise the city on any project that the city will undertake in terms of recognizing the impacts of the project as well as the taxability and all the things that you need to cover as a bond counsel representing bondholders.
So, did you compare to some other bond counsels? Did you ask for bids or anything like that?
No, sir. We have extensive experience working with Bass, Berry & Sims, and their recommendation comes from our work experience.
From your work with him?
Yes, sir.
Work experience.
Work experience. So, well, was anybody else considered, or just this person had such a great history with y'all, you just decided to go with him?
It was a combination of several things. Our personal work experience working with Michael Bradshaw here with Bass, Berry & Sims, the presence of the firm across the state and their institutional knowledge of the state law and the impacts of what state law is, in the business of the city, and just the coverage of all the different types of financing that Bass, Berry & Sims has worked on across the state, and their knowledge of the state law and those things was behind our recommendation.
Okay, in your capacity as advisor to us?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Question.
No,
What-
go ahead. I need to catch him breath anyway.
So once you get to this level of what you've recommended, aren't all those companies about the same with experience and so it's based on personality because you've reached a point of these are experts in their field?
Well, I would say that different firms have differentiating characteristics. Our work experience, we do our job as well as we can so that we can mitigate the differences in working with different firms. From our experience, given the different types of projects that we've worked on covering general government projects, utility projects, and the different nuances across those different projects, we felt that Bass, Berry & Sims would be the best firm, and we recommended them in addition to the proximity to the city of Jackson and the ability to take on whatever projects and have the institutional knowledge to give the best service to the city.
If I remember correctly, the other companies were like in East Tennessee, Knoxville.
That's correct.
Even out of the state.
That's correct.
So, and this was Bass, Berry & Sims in Memphis.
Yes, sir.
Natural.
I'm in Memphis. Yeah,
He's in
they're
Memphis,
based, they're based, the home office is Nashville, but I'm in the Memphis office.
Councilman Lawrence?
Okay, back to y'all's function. You provided us with a recommendation. What else are you providing us with?
We also are your financial advisor, so we are there to answer any questions, to advise on capital planning, debt issuances, and the city's currently planning some projects, and so it's good to have a bond counsel in place to be able to, you know, address some questions along the process of issuing debt, you know, identifying projects, identifying proper use of those projects, if those projects will be taxable or tax exempt, so that when the city does go to the bond market, it can efficiently sell the bonds and receive the highest price for issuing the debt. And of course, which translates to a lower project cost because your borrowing costs are lower and investors can get comfortable with the offering and recognize that they can get their return on investment as well. So it's a symbiotic relationship with, you know, the project team and the interaction with investors in the bond market.
Are you close to getting an underwriter, or is that way down the road?
That would be down the road. And in addition to the fact that this would be a new city project, so that process would be a competitive process.
And I can speak to that if it's okay. I'm Michael Bradshaw with Bassbury and Sims in Memphis, and because these are new money general obligation bonds as opposed to a refinancing, they'll have to be competitively bid. So you'll bid it, PFM will go through the process of bidding it out to a number of underwriters, and you'll obviously take the best deal you get.
All right, any additional discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Excuse me, I just didn't catch your name at first. If
My
you
name is
could-
Albert Brown, PFM.
And you were with?
PFM Financial Advisors.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 8-0.
Thank you, guys. Item 8 is consideration of committee and board appointments. The Ned McWhorter West Tennessee Cultural Arts Center Advisory Board, appointment of Maya Robertson and Chandra Macklin.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 8-0.
Item 9, sunshine of budget amendments less than 10,000. Item 10 is consideration of invoices over 10,000.
Motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 8-0.
No further business coming before the council. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.